there's a sentence in there, and I wish you can coin it, but success, say it again. Success
turns to loss in an effort to maintain.
I feel like it's like one of those mic drop moments, right? Because I feel like, wow. There's just there's so many thoughts going into my head about like what it could possibly mean, because it's like it's true, and it's also like, whoa, because if you're trying to just maintain in business, it's never going to work. You can't. If you're stagnant and you're complacent, you're done. Right. It just doesn't happen. Right. So you need to constantly be evolving. Same goes true with life. If you're complacent, you've lost. Like if you're not constantly trying to evolve and change and maybe not upgrade, but like if you're not trying to strive to be a better person, you've lost. I just think it's such a crazy, like it's all summed up in that one sentence. So it's just like, whoa, how did you take, novels worth of information and it's now just summed up into one sentence? And this is from Lou Holtz.
Lou Holtz.
I just think it's such a powerful thing because it's so true.
It's so true. You know why I think that's true? Success turns to loss in an effort to maintain. It's because time waits for no one.
Yeah.
Today is the youngest you're ever going to be. And so whatever you want to get after it today. Isn't it true?
Oh, it's a realization that people need to have. It's like, hey man, whether you like it or not, the life goes on.
Right.
You don't have to like it, but this evolving rock that we're on is going to keep spinning, and the sun's going to continue to set, and it's going to continue to rise.
Yep.
And if you choose to not believe it, or you choose to just stay complacent in what you're doing, you're going to be left behind. I hate to say left behind, but it's true.
No, it is true. Time waits for no one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it's one of those things that aging is automatic. Aging's automatic. It just happens. You don't have to do anything. You just sit there and you age. But growth, getting better, that is not automatic. That takes effort. And that's why success turns to loss in an effort to maintain. Because when you're maintaining, you're saying, I'm going to rely on what I accomplished yesterday. I'm just going to try to hold that. It's gone. It's completely gone. What happened yesterday is dead. It's the past is dead for everybody. But some people do live in the past. If you want to be sad, live in the past. If you want to be anxious, live in the future. If you want to be present, live in the present.
Interesting. Yeah, the whole sad thing, right? Just a question, why do you think people choose to live in the past? Like, what is it that would cause them not to want to continue to evolve or change? Or I think it does happen with age, right? I think once you hit a certain point, not to date anybody, but once you hit a certain point in life, it's like, there's nothing more I can really learn. I'm just going to continue to live my life the way that I know to live life and do it the best that I can and be happy. But like someone like myself, for example, who's 30 years old, where it's like, yeah, I have I don't want to say copious amounts of time, but I have time. Like there is time. A good way to look at it is, I forget who said it, and once I do, I'll quote them on it eventually. But he's talking about visiting his parents, and he goes, "Oh, he's like, so how long?" He's like, "Oh yeah, my parents are, I think they were in their 60s," and he's like, "All right, so give or take what, 20 more years?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "How many times a year do you see your parents?" And he goes, "Twice." He said, "Okay, so 20 times 2." He goes, "You have 40 more times with your parents left." Until
this is Peterson.
Was it Peterson? It probably was.
It's like 3/4 of the way through his book.
Like that idea of like, you think your mind where you're like, oh yeah, I have 20 years left. It's like, no, you don't. You have 40 more periods of time left.
Right. I think in his example, it was actually 4.
It was something along those lines.
He goes, based upon the math, I'm going to see my parents 4 more times.
And it makes you, and that's what kind of got me to want to come back to the East Coast as well.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not to say I was living in that fear, but it was almost like, no, like I love my family. And when you put it into that weird perspective of like, you could say what you want, but time doesn't stop for anybody. This is what's going to happen. It's like, whoa, now you're putting a time limit on it. And then it was the same thing with age, where it's like, I'm 30 years old now. What's the next 30 years? Well, in 30 years, I'll be 60. Okay. That makes sense. I have time. I could live another 30 years and learn so much in 30 years. Whereas somebody that hits that 60 to 70 years, it's like, okay, I have 70 years. Can you live another 70? Well, no, you'd be 140. So now your time is starting to be limited. So make sure in the first half of your life, you're really crushing it and you're really doing it. And that's why I think that quote hits so hard, because if you become complacent, you're done. Like I feel like that's where you put the stake in the ground, you put the sword in the stone. Like that's it. I'm here. I choose not to move forward anymore. I don't know. It's kind of a depressing, sad thing to think about, but people do this on a day-to-day basis all the time.
Yeah, I'm with you. You know, there is a day in everybody's life where there's more days behind them than there is in front of them, and you don't know when that day is. You know, it's that classic thing of an hourglass glued to the table. You can't flip it over, and you can't see the top portion. You can only see the bottom portion. You know, you don't know how much sand's above pouring out. You know, this is the nature of life. But you know, you asked earlier a question. It was how do you not live in the past?
Yeah, how do people? Yeah,
If someone's living in the past, why is that happening? And I really believe that if you're living in the past and you're thinking about the past, that means there's something you have not dealt with. Because if you dealt with it, you'd stop thinking about it. So I would say, what is it, those little tiny thoughts that jump in your head when you're in the shower, when you're driving to work, when you start your car, when you're sitting and nothing's happening, when you're not thinking, what are you thinking? And if you're thinking about the past, nail that down. Go to the people, go to the person, go to the organization, do whatever it takes to get that out of you. Because if you don't, you'll never grow beyond that. There are adults today that are 9-year-old children trapped in a 40-year-old body because something happened to them at 9 years old. Maybe they were molested by someone at age 9, right? Something like that happens, and the person is just stunted by this. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a doctor on this stuff, but in my personal experience, I would go back to them and I would say to them, "Look, I want to let you know you hurt me, but I want to tell you right now I forgive you."
it's tough.
Because
It's
I don't want
tough decisions.
Right, it is, but
Yeah.
I would say, but because I don't want to carry you with me anymore. I just want to put you down. I don't want to have to walk around with you anymore.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna let you know I forgive you right now. My mom did this.
yeah.
My mom. So you all know my mom died 17 years ago. Probably 5 years before my mom died. My mom, we were having a conversation. But 5 years before my mom died, her dad died.
Mhm.
Okay. And about 6 months before my mom died, we were in a house on Constitution Avenue. And my mom said to me, she goes, Randy, I want to let you know that I've forgiven my dad for everything he's ever done to me. It was wonderful to do. Before he died, I went to him and I talked to him about it. And it was so liberating. It just set me free from it all. And I looked and go, what do you do to you, Mom? And it's as if she blurted it out like it was trapped in her for like 50 years. She goes, he molested me when I was a child.
Mm.
You go, really, Mom? Really? He goes, yeah, he was the local milkman and I would go on the trips with him. And it would happen when we were in the truck delivering milk. I go, wow. And she goes, yeah, but I've forgiven him. That's an example of someone carrying something for 50 years and then finally going to the person and putting it down and saying, look, I forgive you. I don't want to carry you with me anymore. So why do people live in the past? There's things like that going on.
There's a big burden they're carrying.
Yeah. It could be little burdens.
Yeah.
It's the same weight if you have 1,000 little burdens versus one giant one. So if you have 1,000 little ones, go to all 1,000 people and say, look, I just want to make amends with you. I want to make it okay. Right now, I have one right now.
Uh-oh.
I know. I got one right now. Last year during harvest, I had a clash and I can't stop thinking about it.
No
It's
way.
about buying grapes and it's driving me nuts. It's in my head like every day of my life. And it's like, I'm thinking, oh God, Randy, just make the phone call. Just make this right. Say, hey, I'm really sorry. Didn't mean to hurt you. What can we do to make this better? I want to have a relationship with you. Like eventually I'll get there, Ralph. I'm growing up, man. But I got one. It's, think about it daily. And this is how you live in the past. Because if my mind's going back to last harvest of buying these grapes and the deal didn't happen right,
You're
and
trapped.
there was a disargument, I'm trapped in that. That situation still owns me a year later. And what does that do to me? It hurts my life. So what do I need to do? I need to go back to the person and say, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to hurt our relationship over grapes. What can I do to make it better? I'm really sorry.
Wow.
And then just like that, it'll get put down. So how do you not live in the past? Go back to the people you had the challenges with, the confrontations with, make it right, make amends. And by the way, if you do this and they go, no, the heck with you, get away from me. At least you have peace of mind.
Yeah, the ball's in their court at that
Right.
point.
It's all
right?
good. You do what you do. Because what are the odds of two people coming in the exact same emotional state at the exact same moment in time? It's zero. So when you apologize, it's about you, not really about them. It's all good.
That's a good point.
Yeah, great stuff.
Yeah, it's a really good point. Thank you, Randy.
Thanks, Ralph.